After a whirlwind romance that felt destined, my girlfriend dumped me claiming it turned into a friendship with sex. My drunken comment about her brother didn't help. Now desperate for a second chance, I'm wondering if my heartfelt letter can win back her trust and love. Could we truly have a future? I 27 years old male and my girlfriend, 24 years old female, just broke up 5 days ago. We dated since the end of January, totaling 2.5 months, and everything seemed to be going well. We always enjoyed our time together, never had any arguments, and were entirely smitten with one another. Before I officially asked her to be my girlfriend in January, we conversed for 2 months leading up to that moment. During our pre-official stage, we primarily frequented bars or relaxed at our apartments. By the time we became official, my work schedule became significantly more demanding to the point that I was consistently working 5 to 6 12-hour days. She is also a night nurse who works 6 12-hour shifts every other week, complicating our ability to plan dates due to our busy schedules. In our breakup conversation, she mentioned that she could not continue dating me for two reasons. First, she stated that our relationship began feeling more like a friendship with physical intimacy because our activities mainly involved going out for drinks or hanging out at home. She felt that I was not taking the relationship seriously enough. Second, unknowingly, I made a disrespectful comment regarding her younger brother, 20 years old, male, during the Uber ride on the night I first met him. After 2 hours of trying to impress him, I got caught up singing Pop Smoke's Hello during the ride back and said something to her brother along the lines of, "I know your sister's rear end jiggles." While that was certainly not the impression I wanted to leave on her brother, especially after making a good first impression up until that point, I feel I got swept up in the moment, having had a few drinks and singing one of my favorite songs, and I spontaneously said something inappropriate. Aside from this incident, I have met around a dozen of her friends who all praised me and thought I was an excellent match for my ex. Now that you have some background about me, I am wondering if I should share this letter with my ex to express my feelings. I would appreciate a woman's perspective on my letter and whether what I wrote is something you would value receiving from an ex. I want her back and am ready to make any changes necessary to win her back. The letter in question. I know this is somewhat lengthy and I may sound irrational, but this is the best way I can articulate all of my thoughts and feelings that I was unable to express the last time we met. In my mind, this is what I wish I could have conveyed to you during our last in-person conversation when you broke up with me. But I was so devastated at the thought of losing you that I could not think clearly or say what I needed to say, leading me to regretfully get up and leave. Reflecting on everything between us, I was simply so thrilled to have finally found someone with whom I connected so well after 5 long years of being single. I feel as though I was somewhat blinded and selfishly writing the positive internal feelings of having a girlfriend again while, at the same time, not paying attention to building our connection and relationship. I can acknowledge that I became too comfortable, but I recognize that now, and I know how to rectify it immediately going forward. I had so much planned for us this summer, and now I have all the time in the world to demonstrate that through my actions with a more flexible work schedule. I took you for granted name, but believe me when I say that I would never do that to you or us again. I nearly left in November after my life completely turned upside down, but for some inexplicable reason I stayed. Shortly afterward I met you. I do not believe that was by coincidence. I genuinely believe in fate, and I think that God placed me in Milwaukee to find you. We share too many quirks and silliness in common. It really is astonishing when you take a step back and think about it as I have. I wanted nothing more than to showcase you to the entire world, and I am just pleading for a fresh start or a single date to prove to you that things will be different this time. I would do absolutely anything in the world just to have an opportunity to begin again with you. I truly want only you name, nobody else. I want you to be the last woman I am ever with and grow old together. You do not need to change me. I merely lost sight of the bigger picture in taking the initiative to find things for us to do together to connect on a more romantic and emotional level for a brief time. I know you say you cannot see us recovering from this, but I know for a fact we could because you would see and absolutely love the changes in me immediately. I truly do not understand how you can give up on me so quickly based on the first 2.5 months and believe that is how the remainder of our relationship would unfold, particularly since I was working 5 or more 12-hour days almost every week. It is simply not true, not in the slightest. Should you have had to remind me to realize that I was lacking? Absolutely not. But you would never need to remind me again name. I swear to God on my deceased grandparents' graves that this would never be the case again. You truly are my number one priority, and I am ready to show it to you on a daily basis. I just want you to have a little faith in me. Despite my shortcomings, I feel like I have earned the right from you to have some faith in me. I never lied, I never cheated. I never physically or mentally abused or manipulated you in any way to my knowledge throughout our entire time together. From what you have told me, I believe I was everything your previous partners were not concerning these aspects. All I did was drunkenly sing and, regrettably, ad-lib a disrespectful comment toward your younger brother, which I should not have said in the first place, and I failed to take the initiative to strengthen our emotional bond. That said, I am not trying to downplay my shortcomings, as I realize how deeply they hurt you and, in part, your brother. The last thing I ever wanted was to hurt or offend you or the people you care about. I take full responsibility for all my faults and am sincerely sorry for them. But at the same time, I cannot comprehend how the mistakes I made with you do not deserve a second chance. I recognize that what I said to your brother was completely wrong and out of line. I wish I could take it back and never should have uttered it in the first place. If I had realized I had said it at that moment, I would have apologized immediately. However, being drunk and not recalling is no excuse. I am profoundly sorry for inadvertently disrespecting and causing hurt to you and your brother with my comment. At the same time, you mentioned to me that, in a sense, when discussing my lack of planning dates with your brother one time over the phone, you told me he kind of defended me by saying you could bear some responsibility for my lack of planning and the excessive drinking by always inviting your friends out with us. Given that he somewhat defended me in that phone call with you, which occurred long after my regrettable Uber comment from months prior, that alone should be a sign that I can repair my relationship with your brother over time through my actions of caring for you. He must have seen some good in me to have voluntarily cut me a tiny bit of slack regarding planning dates for our relationship, despite having been upset with me months earlier when we first met, right? He did not have to say anything on my behalf, but he chose to do so anyway, even though he was still harboring the Uber incident from you at that time. If there was no way to return from my inexcusable comment with him, then I do not see why he would have defended me in any way during your phone call. It simply does not make sense. Ultimately, after apologizing to Peyton over the phone the night we broke up, all he wants is for his older sister to feel respected, loved, and appreciated by a good man, just as all parents and siblings do. Furthermore, I cannot shake the memory of the look you gave me when you tilted your head, gazed deeply into my eyes, and nearly cried while expressing how much you liked me during one of our pillow talks a week or so before our breakup. That gaze pierced my soul and is a memory I will never forget. In that moment, when I looked back into your eyes, I felt as if I could see our entire future relationship played back to me in a reel that ended with us holding hands with our walking sticks as an elderly married couple. I swear to God, that is what I envisioned, and it made my heart flutter in a way that defies description. Given that, I just do not understand how you could be willing to give up on us so readily, considering the bigger picture. Our untapped potential as a couple is limitless, Name. You know this and I know this, whether you choose to admit it or not. I have seen it in your eyes when you look at me. You have deep feelings for me just as I do for you. What we share is something special, and it cannot be replicated by just anyone. If there is any part of you that can genuinely accept that part of our excessive drinking was partly due to you and always having plans with your friends, then please, please find it in your heart to grant me one last opportunity to prove your doubts wrong. I assure you with every fiber of my being that I know how to date seriously. I have done it successfully before, and I am ready to do it again with you. I was simply out of the relationship game for so long that I lost focus on what was important, strengthening our connection through one-on-one experiences together. That will not happen again. I swear to God, I know what I am doing this time around. I do not want just any kind of relationship with you either, Name. I want a real relationship. If granted a second chance, things would look and feel so much different. I would love to arrange weekly dinner dates. I will assist in planning trips so we can visit new places: Door County, Las Vegas, Nashville, anywhere with a clear beach, etc. I will come up with more activities for us, such as paddle boat rides in Veterans Park, picnics at the beach, arts and crafts dates, sporting events, concerts or festivals, etc. on a weekly basis to help us deepen our connection. I'm over the let's get drunk phase in my life. I want something more substantial. I want to build a genuine a true partnership. A real relationship is honestly the one thing I desire most in this world, and I know I am ready for that right here and right now with you, Name. God is my witness. I can promise you that if given one last chance, it will turn out to be one of the best life decisions you have ever made, as I know where it will lead us. I have never been more confident about anything in my entire life. I just need you to allow me the opportunity to prove you wrong. I may have given you reasons to be disappointed in me in the past, but I do not feel I have ever given you reasons to doubt my trustworthiness. I have always been genuine and honest with you, and so I am just pleading for you to take a leap of faith for a true chance at love. All I am asking for is one date to demonstrate that I can be the person you envisioned for a serious, long-lasting relationship. Allow me to take you on one final date. After this date, if you do not feel confident that I am going to treat this seriously for the rest of our lives, then I will accept your viewpoint and believe there is no future for us. Until then, I will not stop believing in us because I know the feelings we have for each other are rare and unlike anything either of us has ever experienced. I feel it in my heart, And I know you feel it too, regardless of how much you may want to suppress those emotions. I know they are still there and could be ignited again if you would just allow them. A deeper exploration of my perspective. In August, I packed up all my belongings and relocated to a different state for a life-changing dream job with Sports Illustrated, which declined so rapidly that I found myself unemployed within 2 months of moving to Milwaukee. In a state of complete panic, I considered packing up and returning home, but ultimately chose to stay and attempt to recover from what seemed to be an insurmountable predicament at that time. I had no job, no direction, and essentially no friends, being in a new state. I felt utterly alone, and this was genuinely my lowest moment. Weeks passed before I secured a serving job to make ends meet and stay afloat. Now, facing an entirely unfamiliar chapter of my life, I found stability by landing a sports job at MATC. Shortly afterward, I unexpectedly went on a blind date with the most beautiful woman inside and out I have ever encountered. I took her out, and everything went exceptionally well to the point that I uncharacteristically spent 3 consecutive days with her. I finally left her apartment Monday morning, returning home feeling genuinely happy for the first time in 5 years of being single, as I felt I had finally found someone who complimented me perfectly. I shared with all my friends and family that I honestly believed I had found someone I could imagine spending the rest of my life with. My friends and family were astounded because they knew I do not take dating lightly and had felt this strongly about only one other woman before. As a result, I was over the moon, and we had only just met. To me, it felt like our relationship had an excellent start. Sure, for the most part during our pre-official phase, we were just hanging out, enjoying drinks, and getting to know one another, along with meeting each other's friends. However, I believe that approach was appropriate for the first 2 months before I officially asked you to be my girlfriend. That night with the dinner, flowers, and the poem, I thought I was making it clear that things were about to shift between us, now that you were my official girlfriend, and that I intended to elevate my efforts moving forward. However, I realize now that I failed you after that moment. I allowed my typical weekday routine, demanding work schedule, and my own mindset of being overly comfortable, and taking you and our relationship for granted to obstruct any attempts to build on the strong foundation of our relationship. Instead of being proactive in organizing dates that could enhance our bond, I passively and lazily assumed everything was perfectly fine simply because we were not fighting or anything like that, and we consistently seemed to enjoy each other's company. I take full responsibility for our decline. I should have done better. It is that simple. Between my relief at finally not being single anymore, our work schedules, my efforts to make good impressions with all your friends when we were out, and my failure to take enough initiative for one-on-one time, our relationship suffered significantly. That is on me, and I apologize for disappointing you and failing to make you feel loved and appreciated. You made me feel like the luckiest man in the world, and I regret that I did not take the steps to make you feel like the luckiest woman. In retrospect, despite my chaotic work schedule, I should have and could have prioritized making more effort. I should have forfeited some of my weeknights spent cooking meals at home and working out late in order to take you out more during the week and explore new dining options. I also should have thought of more unconventional dates, such as an escape room, ice skating, building a snowman, visiting museums, or a paint and sip event, since it is one of your interest bucks games, paddle boat rentals, and so on. I should have maximized my time with you instead of sleeping in late, and I should have communicated better with you about meeting my parents. Additionally, I should have asserted myself on certain occasions regarding your friends joining us to allow for more one-on-one time. Ultimately, I should have treated our relationship with more seriousness from the outset, and then I would not be here typing this. I fully understand that now during this time apart. Given everything I have come to understand, I do not hold it against you for having doubts about my commitment to our relationship. Frankly, I would have had my own reservations if I were in your position and noticed a pattern of lack of direction. Nevertheless, if the roles were reversed, and I were in your position reading this right now, if you ever do read this, I can honestly say there is no way I could allow my previous doubts to deter me from giving you a second chance, especially not when it is from someone I was genuinely starting to fall for who is desperately pleading for their life by acknowledging where they went wrong and confidently articulating how things would change if given the opportunity. I am not claiming that everyone deserves a second chance. Believe me, I know that is not always true. Second chances are earned, not given, and are only warranted on a case-by-case basis. You have every right to deny me that chance, but if I am being entirely honest with myself, I feel like I do deserve a second chance with you. I was simply so caught up in the moment, riding the natural high of finding someone who actually made me believe in love for the first time in over half a decade, that I lost track of focusing on building our connection. I am no longer blinded, nor am I tied down by an overwhelming work schedule. I know I can provide you with everything you desire and need in a relationship and more. Please give me a chance to demonstrate that I am being truthful. I want nothing more than to build something real and everlasting with you, Matt. I genuinely believe we could accomplish this if you would only open your mind to seeing me one more time. I plead with you to grant me one final opportunity to prove all your doubts about me wrong by allowing me to take you out again. Everyone who knows me and is aware of our current situation believes I would be able to guide us into a real relationship if given a second chance. Why can't you name? All I am asking for is one opportunity to prove you wrong. That is all. I have already pursued you once, getting you to want to be in a relationship with me. Please allow me the chance to do it again, this time correctly from the very start. Permit me to create your very own How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days storybook ending name. I assure you with 100% certainty that you will not end up regretting it. Story 2. I still wake up in guilt every day after my mom shook me awake, saying, I think Sultan is dead. I tried everything to save my cats after my love abandoned me, but after losing Einie, I can only pray for Archie. Will I lose him too? Hello, everyone's. I am unsure where to begin, as I do not even know where I started losing myself. This process began long before now, silently like a loose thread on a sweater gradually unraveling. I keep harming myself and I do not know how to recover or move forward. My life feels stagnant. Everything around me comes and goes while I remain like that sweater slowly falling apart. On the 13th of April, I was asleep when my mother shook me awake and said, Wake up, I think Sultan is dead. I awoke in shock. Half asleep, I rushed to the room where I saw him lifeless, drooling with one eye open. All I could think about was why I had slept. If I had not slept, I could have rushed him to the veterinarian, been with him in his last moments, and made him comfortable. But the truth is he died alone, and I felt my presence didn't matter anymore because all I was left with was guilt. Let me take you back to when my cats were born, my babies born on the 8th of February. It was meant to be a beautiful memory. Yet I could not feel as happy for them as I desired because 4 days prior, the love of my life left me. She abandoned me. Although my cat giving birth was a beautiful event, I could not experience the joy I was supposed to. I could not even smile properly. The grief was too overwhelming. 2 days later, the mother cat stopped feeding them, so I stepped in with milk replacers. I hand-fed them every 2 hours around the clock. It kept me busy and diverted my mind from my thoughts since I had to feed them every 2 hours. I stayed awake all night just feeding them. During the day, I slept but woke up every 2 hours to feed them and also had to wake up 5 times a day to pray. At best, I was getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep a day. I was becoming exhausted. Mentally, I was in a troubled state. I felt I was losing my grip on reality. It was not just about the cats. If anything, my cats provided me with companionship. I felt happy around them, I still do, yet being in the situation I was in caused me to lose myself. I was disconnecting from reality. I became so busy with tasks other than caring for my cats that seemed inconsequential. I spent hours on chores. My life felt as if it had come to a halt. I was fading away, drowning in failures, and this enormous pause in my life stretched longer than it should have. Life was not progressing, it felt stagnant. Slowly, the kittens began to grow. We named them Archie, Sultan, and Einstein, who I called Einie or Ainu for short. I chose their names because of one of my favorite movies, Back to the Future. I loved the name Einstein. As days passed, I fed them and played with them daily. They loved me and I loved them. It felt relieving to see them bite my hands. When they were in another room, I would be asleep. My mom would open the door and they would run to my room. Sultan would bite my hair and kick my head. He was the biggest and healthiest. I felt joyful. They made me feel good about my life. I felt like part of a family. Perhaps the reason I felt that way was that I am an only child. I am not quite sure. However, life has a cruel tendency to remind one how fragile happiness is. I think all happiness carries within it the seed of its own ending from the moment it comes into existence. Then one day, Sultan's stomach upset occurred. I gave him some flagyl and he was active playing and running. Everything seemed fine. The following morning it worsened, so I took him to the veterinarian first thing when it opened. I had not slept that night, so I waited for the clinic to open. He was still active at that time, and the veterinarian administered an injection for his fever and one for his stomach. I returned home and was with him for about an hour. He pooped a few times, all being upset bowel movements, but I thought the medication would take effect soon. I decided to sleep for a little while, but the next thing I knew, my mother was saying, "Wake up, I think Sultan is dead, he is not breathing." I awoke in shock and ran to the other room where I witnessed the consequence of my negligence, still cold and lifeless. There was nothing more I could do but hold on to the regret of having slept. If only I had stayed awake, I could have taken him to the veterinarian when he was nearing his end, or perhaps I could have simply comforted him in his final hours. But he was gone. We took him to the nearest park where I buried him. I returned home and he was just not there anymore. He passed on the 2nd of April. After Sultan's passing, every morning felt like a punishment and I did not know how to break free from it. Whenever I awoke with an intense heartbeat, it seemed as though he was still here and that it was all a dream, but it was not. My baby was truly gone. Every time my mother shook me awake for breakfast or anything else, I panicked. I would think another one was gone. It became a reflex, more like a curse. I remembered this happening when she left. Every day, I would wake up with a fast heartbeat for a moment, feeling like it was just a bad dream before checking my phone and reliving the fact that she really did abandon me. Then exactly on the 9th of April, Einie and Archie both had upset stomachs and passed blood in their stool. I took them to the veterinarian immediately. He mentioned it was most likely feline panleukopenia virus FPV. For the second time in my life, I was afraid. The mortality rate of this virus is 90%, and this is what Sultan had. You may be wondering why I did not get them vaccinated. Well, firstly, I raised them myself. They were significantly smaller than average for their age because they had not been on their mother's milk. Secondly, I had just had them dewormed, and third, they were often a little sick. The veterinarian said I could vaccinate them once they were healthy. They tended to get sick occasionally, however, this was my responsibility. It was my fault for not vaccinating them when they were feeling their healthiest. They would still be with me. Regardless, we began the treatment. It was incredibly expensive, but I did not care. I just wanted my babies to be okay. We started the course of treatment, antibiotics, drips, and vitamins. We even used blood from their father to create an antibody serum. I researched the virus and followed all the necessary steps. I poured everything into saving them. I did everything by the book for their best chance of survival. However, my baby Einie continued to lose weight. He was slipping away from me. I stayed with him in the room the entire night. I never left his side. His situation worsened day by day. He kept vomiting, and I was there, cleaning it up, comforting him as best as I could. I observed and learned that presence, even in silence, carries significant weight. Even cats can feel the presence. If I left the room, he would vomit more. He would run around even though his mother and brother were present. His mother was there because she had been vaccinated, but her stomach was upset, so I did not want to expose her to the father. Therefore, she remained in this room. However, when I stayed with Einie, he vomited less. He was calmer. He would occasionally look at me and just be Einie, the little cutie pie that he was, my baby Einie. We then transitioned him to drips, 3 drips a day. He could not eat or drink, he was losing himself, and I did everything I could for him. Every drip, every injection, every time he shut his eyes, every scream and every cry, I was there, but it still was not enough. Now I will bring you to the last 48 to 72 hours I had with him. I did not sleep for a single second. I was with him throughout his journey. When he slept, I desperately wanted him to live because he was so loving. I truly loved him. I truly loved him. One day, everything broke me. It was 4 a.m. and Einie lost the ability to respond to touch. I rushed him to the veterinarian, the same veterinarian who had been treating him. Since they were not a 24-hour service, I called and called until someone picked up and I made them come to the clinic. What broke me was that while I was expressing my concerns, he was on his phone. I suspected what he was doing. Eventually, I saw it. The veterinarian was not even trying. He was typing what I said into ChatGPT, asking it how to save my boy as if I could not do that myself. All he did was copy-paste my desperation. For a while, I regretted ever bringing him to this veterinarian, but then again, life and death are in God's hands, not ours. I knew he was at the point where he would pass, and I had no money left to change veterinarians. I had spent all I had on these treatments, every last penny, every favor, every drop of hope. That day, we completed his medication. I returned home, knowing he would probably not make it through the night. I stayed with him all night. He made it. The following day, I got his drips and got everything done. I came back home and his breathing pattern changed. It felt like I was losing him. I was there cleaning every time he urinated or defecated because he lost his urinary control. He was slowly becoming a mess. I kept cleaning and I remained with him. Somehow he made it through the night. The next day I took him and his brother for treatment. They received drips, medication, everything they needed. When I returned home, I cleaned him repeatedly until I could no longer keep my eyes open. I do not drink coffee or energy drinks. I eventually just slept for a little while because I had not slept in over 2 days. As soon as I fell asleep, my mother told me to wake up. He is not responding anymore. She woke me, and before she even said anything, I was already halfway across the room to him. I saw that he was drenched in his own urine and feces because he no longer had control. I had not been there to clean him, and the dignity sheet beneath him, though it absorbed some of his mess, also got on him. I told ChatGPT all of his conditions. ChatGPT informed me that these were his final moments. I refused to accept that. I said, "No, ChatGPT, no, please tell me what to do to save him." I did not want to lose Einie. He was my baby. He was so loving. He slept with me. He played with me. He loved me, and I loved him. I just did not want to let him go. I did not want him to give up. He was becoming colder and colder. However, he was suffering. He suffered every time I took him to the veterinarian. It hurt me every time I saw him in pain. I wished I could take all his pain away a million times over. I prayed, and I kept praying. I asked ChatGPT to assist me. It replied, first, dry him off, get him warm, increase his body temperature, provide him with an electrolyte solution. I rushed to my kitchen, took a saucepan, and began boiling water so I could pour it into a hot water bottle and keep it under him. But while waiting for the water to boil, I grew anxious, so I asked ChatGPT again and took him upstairs into the sunlight, not direct sunlight, just indirect sunlight. I hurried back downstairs, grabbed a pair of scissors and a towel, dried him off, and cut away the hair that got soiled to make him comfortable. I rushed back down, prepared an electrolyte solution using honey and a pinch of salt, then returned upstairs. I administered it slowly, putting one drop at a time on his gums. At first, he did not swallow, but gradually he began to. Every time he swallowed, it brought me a tiny pinch of hope, and I clung to that. I dashed downstairs and tripped, hitting my head and breaking my glasses, but it did not hurt. None of that mattered. All I could think about was Aini. Writing this, I sound foolish, but I need to express this. I took him downstairs and poured the hot water into the heating bottle. I kept giving him water, cleaning him frequently. By this point, I could barely keep my eyes open, but I fought to stay awake as long as I could. My body was giving out, yet I remained up, cleaning him and giving him the electrolyte solution. I kept talking to my baby, telling him, "Hey, it's going to be okay. Don't worry, you will be okay in no time. When you are, we will play. I will get you many treats and toys. We will go on rides and we are going to annoy everyone." I kept talking to him throughout the entire day. Eventually, I could no longer stay awake, so I slept beside him with my finger in his paw. He was breathing very rapidly. I woke up every 10 to 15 minutes to give him the electrolyte solution and continued to talk to him. I did this for hours. Then I awoke to find that I was the only one awake. There I was, looking at my baby Aini lying there lifeless. He did not even make a sound before leaving. All I felt was guilt. Guilt for the pain and suffering I caused him. Every time he received an injection, every time he screamed, every cry, every vomit, every ounce of pain, all that guilt flooded in. I had caused him all this suffering, all for my own selfish desires. So many emotions rushed in and I could not bear it, so I cried. I know a man is not supposed to feel whatever it is I was feeling, but perhaps I am pathetic. Nevertheless, I cried. I felt alone. I felt vulnerable. I felt out of sorts. I felt rotten. I wiped my tears before my mother arrived. I took him to the same park where I had buried Sultan, and I buried my baby Aini there too. I felt completely alone. Even though I had only been with these kittens for less than 2 months, it felt like I had known them my entire life. I loved them and I would have done anything to make them happy. But now they are gone. After that, I changed veterinarians. The new veterinarian is not as expensive as the last one because I had spent a lot of money on Aini and Archie combined. Although this veterinarian is not as costly, he feels equally qualified. We are doing everything by the book to save Archie. He is battling FPV as I write this. He has not lost any weight, but he has not gained any either. Now I will help him fight this battle and I hope he survives. I love my cats and I have nothing else going on in my life right now except for them. Even if I did, my cats are my family, and for once in my life I do not want to lose. I do not want them to leave. I hope Archie lives. All I can do now is pray. When I die, I want to be reunited with my friends, my baby Aini and Sultan. If you are reading this and have made it this far, please pray for the health of my cats. Thank you, everyone. Have great lives. Goodbye. Story 3. Cheated on and heartbroken, I found a woman in my ex's beta site that shattered my soul. He said, "You're just a maid I could fuck," and after 3 months he messaged, "I want to see you behind her back." Now I revel in my glow-up while he suffers with his choice. Okay, so I would be dishonest if I said I was not smiling in the most disgusting manner about him messaging me. After 2 years of being with him, I arrived at his address, where I had primarily been living, only to discover a woman in his bed. Not only had everything in the house been rearranged, but my belongings had also vanished. During this period, I was really struggling with my health and I was not okay. This meant I spent time with my family to receive care, while he thought it would be a great idea to start cheating on me with a random woman. Talk about kicking me when I was down. Upon discovering the random woman in his bed, I called my ex from work and urgently asked him to come to his place and return my belongings so I could leave him for good. It turned out he had thrown away many of my possessions and hidden my work items, which are crucial for my self-employment, in his garage. I ignored the girl floundering in the background. She was telling me to leave, but I refused to go without my things first and insisted that she call the police if she wanted me gone. I just wanted my belongings back. I knew I should not have just shown up, but after being brushed off by my ex in text messages with vague excuses about work being busy and not being able to access my items, I decided to show up. The door was unlocked and I let myself in, which was a normal occurrence when I was with him. To my horror, I saw a girl in his bed, not to mention everything rearranged and some cheap roses in a vase in the living room. I had to step outside immediately to control my breathing. I called my ex and told him to come and retrieve my things. He tried to wiggle out of it, but I did not want to see him again after this and did not want it to drag on. The girl woke up from being in bed. I am sure my ex called her immediately to inform her I was around. She just looked like a rat and I did not even speak to her, even though she was flapping around in the background. I just felt stunned. Anyway, after retrieving my belongings, I realized I still had 300 worth of stock that I needed and had to ask if he either had it or had thrown it away. Eventually, He admitted to having my items and said he would drop them off to me that evening and would speak to me properly to apologize. He arrived that evening at my mother's address and attempted to drop off my things on the street without me seeing him. I was standing waiting on the street. He showed up with the woman sitting in the passenger seat. She sneered at me as soon as she saw me, and I lost it. I swung the passenger door open and went for her. I went for him too. I hate to sound dramatic, but my rage was immense. Looking back, I know it was not worth reacting even a little, but they caught me at such a low point in my life, and their callous and sly actions made it feel like I had been with a stranger for 2 years. It was alien. I had so many happy memories, and I felt profoundly betrayed and deceived. I do not know what I did to deserve such a peculiar reaction from the woman. I suppose she had been sold a story by him, as for whatever reason she wanted to stay with him. I blocked him and went no contact. I spent time healing my health and trying not to feel heartbroken. I had a lot going on in my personal life which only added to it all, and I became focused on simply trying to feel better. And it worked. I feel good, I feel free, I feel less drained. I have lost a significant amount of weight, I am doing yoga, I am receiving support for my health, and I am looking fabulous. I feel a tremendous overflow of my own identity and boundaries. I am not lacking in offers for dates, and I receive a lot of attention, which has been uplifting. Not that the male gaze matters, but after feeling as worthless as my ex projected onto me, it is nice to feel wanted for the right reasons and to know there are kind people I can surround myself with. There is hope and peace, and the actions of someone who cheats are not personal to you, it is about them. It is their problem. I came to the conclusion that despite the absence of contact, I would hear from him again in some strange way, and it would only be a few months later. The woman and my ex would bond over me being a crazy ex-girlfriend who lost her composure, which would bring them closer together because it would make them feel like star-crossed lovers. But this mindset would likely be short-lived. As I am aware, they barely knew each other when I discovered the truth. I had a strong feeling that the woman had practically moved in with him, based on what I saw in the house when I came to retrieve my belongings. I just knew they would remain together for a while. He does not clean or do anything for himself, so I inferred he had found a woman who would simply replace my role in the household and be utilized by him. As it turns out, I was correct in saying he would cut off contact. He did 3 months later. My intuition was right, and I was also correct about them being in a relationship. He has criticized this woman in messages to me about everything from her performance in the bedroom to the bad meals she prepares and how she does not trust him to go anywhere without her. She is demanding, and he feels suffocated. He cannot even sneeze without her being disgusted by him. He has asked to see me and expressed a desire to end things with her. She is not from the area and seems to be planning to establish a routine by getting a job nearby. The reality of how serious their relationship is becoming and how unhappy he is starting to make him anxious. They live together, and she takes care of his household chores, and that is why he is reluctant to leave her. That is it. He is an even bigger fool than I imagined, and this situation is a significant eye-opener regarding how he treated me as just a maid he could sleep with, his own words. I can see even more of his true colors. I do not want to see my ex. I do not even want a relationship with anyone anymore due to the distress and stress it caused me. However, I do feel deeply relieved and gleeful at the expense of how he has criticized this woman who sneered at me like an insect on her shoe during my lowest moment, who, along with my ex, inflicted a great deal of mental anguish upon me, and now it has backfired. Now he wishes to cheat with me against her. He also confided in his revealing message that he has cheated on her 4 times already, and that she found out but still stayed with him, blaming his use of pornography and lack of a father figure in his life. She sees him as a project and wants to try to make it work, but I know over time she will continue to feel paranoid and overbearing, with good reason too, and it will take a toll on her. I do not understand why she ever thought he would be loyal, considering she was part of my experience of being cheated on. I would call this poetic justice. There is a significant part of me that would love to screenshot his messages and send them to their door, but after previously lashing out at them, which they did not even deserve, I feel it is better to know and let it be. I am in a better mental space, and I would rather let them be rats to each other, squeaking and arguing, remaining unhappy. I do not need to exacerbate their situation when it sounds terrible already. I just feel like a massive weight has been lifted. I feel excellent. I hope they have a miserable rest of whatever one might call their relationship.